In a small, prosperous town, nestled between rolling fields of grain and a winding river, there lived a wealthy merchant known throughout the region for his skillful trade and his beautiful garden. Behind his grand stone house stretched rows of golden millet that shimmered in the morning sunlight. He tended it carefully every day, counting the stalks as if each were a coin in his chest. The millet was his pride. One early morning, as the merchant made his usual round through the garden, he stopped abruptly. His eyes widened. A whole patch of millet gone, not picked or trampled, but eaten clean down to the roots, as though some hungry creature had feasted under the moonlight. The merchant's face flushed with anger. "This cannot stand," he muttered. "Someone, something, is stealing from me, and it will be caught." He called for his 3 sons, Rowan, Bram, and Leor. Rowan, the eldest, was strong and broad-shouldered. Bram, the middle son, was clever and always carried tools and ropes, believing every problem could be solved with enough equipment. Leor, the youngest, was quiet and slender, with quick hands and quicker thoughts. "You 3 will take turns guarding the garden," the merchant announced. "Whoever catches the thief will earn a handsome reward." The sons exchanged glances. Rowan puffed out his chest. Bram smirked confidently. Leor simply nodded. The first night, Rowan prepared for the watch as though marching into battle. He strapped pistols across his belt. He fastened a gleaming saber at his side. He packed dried meat, bread, and a jug of ale. He even spread a blanket beneath a tall elderberry bush, thinking he would keep watch comfortably. But comfort is the enemy of vigilance. Before long, Rowan's eyes grew heavy. His head drooped. The noises of the night, chirping crickets, rustling leaves, became a lullaby. By morning, the merchant stormed into the garden and found Rowan snoring loudly beneath the bush. And more millet was gone. Rowan received a scolding so fierce that even the birds took flight. The second night, Bram approached the task with twice the confidence and 3 times the equipment of his older brother. He brought a thick rope, a club, a lantern, and even a bag of nails, just in case. He was determined not to fail. But as the hours stretched on, the cool air wrapped around him like a blanket, and soon even Bram, with all his preparations, drifted into sleep. Morning came. More millet had vanished, and Bram received the same punishment as Rowan, plus a glare sharp enough to cut wood. The third night, Leor. The merchant, exhausted and furious, turned to his youngest. "Leor," he growled, "if you fail as well, I will lose my entire crop." Leor bowed his head respectfully. He took no weapons, no rope, no club, not even food. Instead, he gathered thorny branches and bristling thistles from the hedges. He arranged them in a tight circle around the spot where he intended to keep watch. Then he sat down, and he waited. Whenever sleep began to tug at him, one sharp poke of a thorn to his leg or his elbow jolted him awake again. It was unpleasant, but it worked. Midnight passed. The wind fell still. Then Leor heard it, a soft, rhythmic sound, like hooves. He lifted his head. There, gliding through the garden like a silver shadow, was a tiny foal, no larger than a lamb, with a coat that shimmered pale blue beneath the moonlight. It moved gracefully among the millet, nibbling at the golden stalks as though they were the sweetest delicacy. Leor's breath caught. He had never seen a creature like it. Slowly, he reached out. The foal raised its delicate head, but before it could flee, the thorns rustled, and Leor swiftly stepped forward, wrapping his arms around the small creature. It gave a single startled whinny, but then quieted, as if sensing the gentleness of the hands holding it. Leor led the foal to the stable and gave it fresh hay and water. The foal nuzzled him, its soft nose pressing against his shoulder. When morning broke, Rowan and Bram mocked Leor. "Ha! Did you fall asleep like we did?" Rowan teased. "Or did a mouse frighten you?" Bram added. Leor simply smiled and gestured for them to follow. When they reached the stable, both brothers froze. Inside stood the most beautiful foal they had ever seen, its coat glimmering like frost in sunlight. Even the merchant gasped. This is the thief?" "It seems so," Leor replied. "I caught it in the act." The merchant's anger dissolved into delight. A magical creature like this is worth more than any field of millet. Leor, the reward is yours. You may keep the foal." The youngest son stroked the little horse's mane and whispered, "Then your name shall be Grange Shadow." The foal nickered happily. The Glass Mountain. Not long after, a rumor spread across the land. Far away stood a palace atop a mountain made entirely of glass. At its highest tower lived a princess under a powerful enchantment. She could be freed only by someone who reached the top and circled the palace 3 times. Many had tried. None had succeeded. The mountain was as smooth as ice. Those who attempted the climb slid back down and disappeared into the deep gorge below. Rowan, hearing the tale, bought the strongest stallion in the region and had its hooves shod with sharp iron. Bram found an even bigger horse and fitted it with steel spikes. They bragged at dinner about who would reach the summit first. Leor said nothing, only brushed Grange Shadow's soft mane. When dawn came, Rowan and Bram rode off ahead, determined to win glory. They reached the Glass Mountain by noon. Rowan spurred his great stallion forward. The horse climbed 3 steps before slipping violently, sending both tumbling into the ravine. Bram tried next. His horse got even fewer steps before its iron spikes scraped helplessly against the glass, and it too slid down into the abyss. The brothers survived, but bruised and shaken. Leor arrived quietly afterward. He mounted Grange Shadow, whose shimmering coat gleamed even brighter near the enchanted mountain. "Are you ready?" Leor whispered. Grange Shadow pawed the earth. Then, hop and leap, the foal bounded upward, light as wind. Sure-footed as if the glass were solid earth, higher and higher they climbed until they reached the palace gates. Then, hop and leap, they circled it once, twice, a 3rd time. At the final step, the palace doors glowed and swung open. Inside stood a young woman in a gown of golden threads, her hair braided with pearls. Her smile was warm and full of relief. "There you are, Runaway!" she exclaimed, running to Grange Shadow. "You mischievous little thing! When you escaped from the glass palace, the spell trapping me here strengthened, and I could not descend." Grange Shadow nuzzled her lovingly. Then she turned to Leor. "I am Princess Lysandra," she said, "because you returned my magical steed and proved bravery and cleverness. You have broken the enchantment." With the spell lifted, the palace shimmered brighter, the sky above it clearing into blue. Leor stayed by Lysandra's side. They grew close, and soon they chose to rule the palace together, Grange Shadow always trotting proudly beside them. As for Rowan and Bram, they recovered from their accidents, with stories far less heroic than they had hoped. And so it was said throughout the land that sometimes the smallest creature holds the greatest power, and sometimes the youngest son, armed with nothing but courage, cleverness, and a touch of magic, can change his fate.